to seek the leave of the House to suspend today's proceedings in order to entertain this motion of urgent public importance. Mr. Speaker, yesterday was June 12th, some 24 years after the annulment of a popularly held election that was echoed all over the world. And today it's an opportunity to reflect on what has happened, what has transpired to the Nigerian nation 24 years afterwards. My motion, Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues, is to seek the House concurrence to immortalize the late winner of that election by requesting the federal government to confer a national honors on the late Chief MKO Abiola. The Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues, there are abundant justifications for this motion, which, if allowed, I am sure will be a major breakthrough in the debate over how to address, how to do justice to the issue of June 12th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The ayes have it. Second limit.
On July 8, 1988, especially in the fields of philanthropy, sport, publishing, corporate leadership, national and global politics, among others. The House remembers him today and always as a true and great son of Nigeria, who touched lives more than any other person in his lifetime, who contributed to the achievement of religious harmony by building bridges between faith organizations like nobody else, the humane boss who employed Nigerians from all walks of life and treated them with affection and care as if they were members of his immediate family, the man who championed good cause of Africans in diaspora and spearheaded the global reparations campaign for Africa and Africans for the exploitation and the heinous crime of slavery meted to them. The House further notes with sadness that despite these uncommon qualities of the late Chief MKO Abiola, capped by his victory at the presidential election of June 12, 1993, but which victory was denied him by retrogressive forces in conspiracy with agents of destabilization, that Nigerian authorities have never at any time conferred a national honor on him in his eventful lifetime or posthumously, despite the fact that many Nigerians and non-Nigerians of dubious value have continued to be decorated with such national honors year in, year out. The House therefore resolves that the federal government should confer the highest national honor on the late Chief MKO Abiola posthumously as a measure of recognition for his unprecedented achievements, his contributions and sacrifice to the unity, peace, progress and development of Nigeria, Africa and indeed the world, and that the Committee on Legislative Compliance shall ensure enforcement and report back to this Honorable House within 3 weeks. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, my dear colleague. Utilizing great personalities like the late Chief MKO Abiola will go a long way in addressing the so many issues that arose after the cancellation of June 12th election, as well as after his death. The Honorable Speaker, sir, only yesterday, the then military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, also offered an extensive interview in which he described the annulment of the June 12 election as unfortunate. And it was very clear that General Babangida himself was remorseful, and for the first time he has declassified by offering reasons behind the annulment. I believe the House should assist in accepting the explanation by General Ibrahim Babangida in good faith, and that it will lead to a major reconciliation between the contending parties of Nigerians about what to do with June 12th. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I believe if Chief MKO Abiola is immortalized by conferring on him the highest national honor in this country, that is the Great Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there is no doubt that his family will be relieved. His entire family and his supporters will ultimately now come to terms that MKO's efforts, MKO's supreme sacrifice was indeed not in vain. May I remind the Honorable Speaker and my colleagues that conferring the highest honor on an individual apart from heads of states and presidents of Nigeria is nothing new. In 1980 or thereabouts, President Shehu Shagari, after his election, conferred the highest national honor on the late Chief Awolowo, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in recognition of his achievements and contributions to the development of Nigeria. And therefore, if this same measure is extended to Chief MKO Abiola, it is not going to be for the very first time. Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe it is a good opportunity for the Muhammadu Buhari administration to give effect to this motion, because among other reasons, I believe they share quite a number of things in common. Chief MKO Abiola scored 8 million votes out of a total of 14 million votes that were registered. And his appeal was from all parts of Nigeria. There was unanimity. There was no contention about the validity of his election, except for what was clearly a conspiracy that eventually denied him. Mr. Speaker, sir, Muhammadu Buhari also scored 15 million out of 28 million votes. And that is why he remains the president whose election was never contested either in the court of public opinion or in the court of law. And I believe since this administration continues to enjoy respect as an administration that believes in justice, if this measure is recognized and adopted, I believe that Nigerians will have hopes that no matter how long it takes, justice will always be done. And this will reverberate all over the world, and it will be something that will be very much welcome. Lest we forget, my dear colleagues, MKO's achievements are not limited to only publishing, corporate leadership, and other fields. He was a great man, and as a traditionalist, he enriched the political vocabulary through his various public engagements. Don't forget, it was from the late MKO, for instance, that we learned about proverbs that you cannot clap with one hand. You cannot move before the moving train, and so on and so forth. This is the kind of person, a colorful politician, someone who always enriched, the traditional vocabulary. Now we are in deficit of such politicians. Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe the families of Chief MKO Abiola, as argued, will welcome with great relief if this this motion is concretized by the federal government to immortalize their benefactor and also to assure them and all of us that there is absolutely no doubt that his sacrifice was not in vain. I personally, Mr. Speaker, benefited greatly from the generous hands of Chief MKO Abiola. He was my employer. I worked in Concord Press, and everywhere I go, I can attest to the number of people that I know associated with Chief MKO Abiola. Even in these hallowed chambers, my very good friend, the Honorable Miki Kazim, I used to know him in London as an associate and family member of the Chief MKO Abiola. And when I met him here, it appeared to us that it was just like a reunion. There are so many people who can attest to this fact. And it is because of this reason, as well as so many other reasons, that I appeal for the concurrence of the Honorable Speaker, especially this great House, so that we will begin to dispense justice, no matter how long it takes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, my dear colleagues.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it.